Monday Night Football game tonight. Big one for both teams, I would say, especially for the Cowboys right now with the Eagles losing that game as a big favorite yesterday.
Yeah.
It's like if they look at this, can win it somehow, it's now they're 1.5-point favorites. So it's almost a 50-50 game going into this thing. If they could win this to pull one game closer, again, eventually their schedule drops off and the Eagles in a week or two starts to get really, really difficult.
I think CeeDee Lamb has a big game. He was unhappy with lack of touches, and everyone was embarrassed by what happened against the 49ers. Not only that, they call you out. Kittle's got the T-shirt on, so McCarthy, a lot of things he could clean up, and maybe he just made it worse on Dak by tinkering with the offense to cut down on the interceptions, and now that's hurt some of the ability they have to stretch the field, and now that he's turning the ball over now again. After that's now 4 interceptions on the season, and I don't know what to make of the Kellen Moore angle. He was the OC in Dallas. Now he's the OC in Los Angeles. Hopefully Herbert's okay and the hand's all right. But I just would look at the Lamb props, and hard to get involved with some of these props, and I don't have an opinion on the game either as well. Good game, and we'll see where Dallas is at. But you're right. I mean, you lose this one. Now you're doubting everything. Between the injuries that you had, you lose to Arizona, you get embarrassed on Sunday night. Now it's hard to take you seriously about doing anything and being a team that could win a game or two in the playoffs if you're looking at 3 losses already.
Now, I'll flip it on the other side and say if the Chargers lose this one again, think about the spot they're in to fall even further behind the Chiefs now in that division. And who do they have next week?
Yep.
On short rest? Oh, the team that won it all last year in their own division, and they're coming off extra rest?
Now you're 2-4. I know. And that could get out of control.
Yeah.
This could really get sideways in a hurry. Although you should be able to beat the Raiders again, take out Denver, no problem. Other winnable games coming up. But and I don't know. You would think 9-8's good enough to get you in, but when you factor in tiebreakers and everything, maybe it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. They lose this game and then go to Kansas City with a huge rest disadvantage. They're off to a rough start.
I mentioned this earlier. The differences so far in like red zone production without Kellen Moore compared to where this team was in previous years when he was the offensive coordinator. When he was there, they were very good. This year, they're awful in the red zone. Example of this is when you look at red zone targets or touches on a team-by-team basis, and I pointed this out last week, I was big on Tony Pollard before the season started. I wanted him everywhere in fantasy, and I got him every which way but loose to win Offensive Player of the Year. I thought with no more Zeke and what was an elite offensive line moving into the season with a high-scoring team, this guy's going to get every opportunity imaginable. Well, Paul, he's had 27 carries in the red zone already. He has 2 touchdowns. He was blowing away. He was lapping the field in that category until last week. I think it was McCaffrey who finally caught him. But 27 carries in the red zone, 2 touchdowns, that's not going to get the job done. 4 targets out of the backfield as well. Rico Dowdell can be a fly in the ointment when you're betting like the touchdown props, anytime more first touchdown. But who's going to get it inside the red zone when Dak's going to be throwing the football? Lamb has 5 targets on the year, only 1 touchdown. He does go to Jake Ferguson quite a bit. So when they approach, enemy territory and they get deep inside, they're inside the 20, Ferguson has had 11 targets so far on the year. Only 1 touchdown is the problem. When you're looking at this for the Chargers, welcome back Austin Eckler tonight, who's missed a bunch of time. He's had, again, in the short amount of time that he's played this year, he's got only 1 touchdown inside the red zone, but that comes on 5 rushes. Josh Kelly got a majority of the work when he was gone. When you look at the tight ends, like I'm looking at the numbers tonight for Gerald Everett. He's in the 17 to 20 to 1 range for first touchdown or plus 265 for any time. When they get to the red zone, it flips. He only has 2 targets on the year inside the red zone, no touchdowns. It's Donald Parham who gets that work. He has 5 targets, and 3 of those have gone for scores inside the red zone. So that's the way it's worked. It goes back a year or 2 with this team. I would look at Parham over a guy like Everett tonight, anytime or maybe first overall in the game.
It's hard to get a read on this team. I mean, they shouldn't have lost that game to Tennessee. They looked so good offensively in the game against Miami, couldn't get stops. The defense, they spent so much money on the defense. That's Staley's MO and background. They can't stop anything. And then what's he going to do with pulling another Dan Lanning here? I mean, is he going to keep gambling 4th down in his own territory? And hard to handicap what's going to happen when he does so many crazy things as a coach. Plus, you don't know what to expect. It's kind of like Harbaugh's now flipped what he's done. Harbaugh's kicking field goals now 4th and 1, and sometimes Staley will go for it, sometimes he'll kick, and you go 4th and 1 backed up at your own 30 and don't get it, then all hell breaks loose.
Sure. There is a snowball effect here to these decisions, right? When Lanning, but I guess to say the good thing about Lanning is he does it every single time, so he's consistent, and you can disagree with that all you want for sure. But it's like if you kick that field goal at halftime, that all of a sudden turns into a 22-21 game. That's going to change the way you're going to operate in the second half.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, like a field goal would have won the game at the end, or I would actually argue...
You were getting the ball too, right?
At halftime, you're getting the ball. I would actually argue that Oregon should have been up anyway. Oregon should have won that game. They gave it away. I think he's actually more aggressive than what Staley's been.
Yeah.
He does it all the time. Staley's kind of flip-flopped a little bit over.
Well, Staley did the same thing though in that Chiefs game, where it was like at the 2-yard line, 3-yard line right before halftime. He went for it.
That's right.
And then the half expired, and they didn't, no good, halftime, and that's it. You missed the 3 points.
Could this be a game again? Now, it did not go well for the Cowboys when they took on the 49ers. I mean, that was an awful performance. But going in, right, it was pointed out about how the middle of the field is a big-time weakness for Dallas, and look at what Kittle did. I mean, he took them apart in that game. Now, could you see the same thing tonight? If you're looking for, like, who's going to be able to attack him, well, you think Keenan Allen would certainly be a guy.
Yeah, they'll throw it down the field. Yep.
Yeah, and then if you're going to use the tight ends, maybe this is going to be more of Everett between the 20s and then Parnham a little bit beyond that. But
well, it might be boring, but there are several big-time candidates to score the first touchdown at big prices tonight. And I wouldn't be surprised if a quarterback runs one in, too, to start.
Herbert did that last game for them.
And the story so far has been the unders of this week, and we'll see if it continues Monday night. Only 2 games have gone over so far in Week 6. The Jacksonville game and the Miami game. And the 49er game opened 41.5, bet down to 35, but that's, based on the opening number, that's an under, too.
Sure.
So it's been nothing but unders here.
Yeah.
And a good game, though. Important game, good game, and I want to see how Dallas responds, but not much confidence in either coach.
I'll tell you, betting over 51 in 2023 NFL, if the Miami Dolphins are not involved, it's a big number.
Yep.
Right? Might take a lot to get there. Don't forget how the Cowboys were playing before they got shredded by the 49ers. I mean, teams weren't doing anything against them. Also, the competition wasn't exactly great, so when they took on a guy like Brock Purdy and they had, Kyle Shanahan, it was... Shanahan against McCarthy, and that's a total mismatch. Now, in this game tonight, it's a coin flip because you don't know what the hell's going to happen. But, again, really good quarterback here tonight. So back-to-back weeks.
I like longest touchdown, under 39.5 yards. I love no defensive or special teams touchdown. That comes with significant juice. You should be able to find minus 260 on that. And then... no score first 5 minutes of the game.
I was actually going to ask you, what are you seeing that at?
Yep. That is, that's hard to find, but...
Minus 160 range or something like that?
Yeah, about 140, 130. Actually, it's probably going to be lower because the total's in the 50s.
I was going to say, higher total probably will be right.
You might get, probably, $1. I'll look. Something in there, but shouldn't be that much juice because the total's so high.
Point that out. You said that earlier today. You put people on alert for that. You said there's a game, I think, coming up this weekend. Was it Iowa and Minnesota?
Yeah. It's every Iowa game. I also like it when the service academies get involved because they rarely throw the ball. So if you have a total in the 30s and the team doesn't throw the ball and it's only like $1.40 juice first 5 minutes, I mean, you come out, run. I mean,
sure.
Now the clock doesn't stop. The clock continues to run in college football. Sure it is.
Yeah.
I don't see it up. It'll be up later.
Okay, copy. No problem.
That's a good way to, especially in the. I mean, if you got a total of 31 in the Iowa game, and it was the same thing on the Wisconsin, and I played it.
We asked that
no
question.
One's throwing the ball.
More and more now, we ask that question all the time. Like, what number do you need to bet anything? Right? What number would you need to bet over in an Iowa Minnesota game? It was it already moved. It went from 31.5 to 32.5. 31.5. I feel like that's bettable.
Yeah. Well, the only thing that gets you is someone goes 3 and out. There's maybe a bad punt, and then someone rips off a couple long runs, and you settle for 3. But still, it's not that hard when you think about it. If one team comes out, gets a couple first downs, then you're not going to have a big play. You're going to go right down the field. So that pretty much, there's the bet right there.
Where'd that Wisconsin-Iowa total close?
34, I think.
That's
34. Yeah, in that range.
I thought that was the lowest number that I saw.
Not even close.
That couldn't even, they had no chance of going over.
No.
They combined for 21 points.
With an 82-yard touchdown run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take that away, and it's. But
Kirk just living in the 70s, so 4th and 1, he's going to kick it. That's another thing they could if they rip off a long run, that's something that'll get you too.
31.5 on an opener. That's just telling you if we make that number like anywhere higher than that, like a 33.5 or a 34, it's probably people are going to bet the under.
This team might win 11 games. Number one, it's just how bad the Big Ten West is. But how does this?
Looking ahead to the Big Ten title game? Let's get way ahead of ourselves here. What's the Iowa team total against Penn State, Michigan, or Ohio State? 3.5.
Well, we saw how that went already. Yeah.
You know what? Put it at 2.5 over minus 180 or something like that. Get nuts. Are they going to kick a field goal in the game?
It was a good tweet. They go 11-1, be in the conference title game, and then the guy won't even come close to hitting the incentives. Fairness. It's like, well, you went 11 and you win a bowl game, maybe you go 12-2, but you average 20 a game.
I'd love to see Michigan favored by 28. The total's 30.5.
Visit VSiN.com to get current odds, listen for free, find showtimes, and download VSiN sports betting podcasts.